Thank you, Dionisio. Good morning. Oh, we could do much better than that, Greenville. Let's try that one more time. Good morning. Yeah. Good morning and welcome to the Greenville Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Sean Trapp, and I serve this congregation as its president. Whether you've been here with us on Sundays for a long time or visiting us for the first time today, we welcome you to our service. This congregation is diverse in beliefs, with participation open to all who agree to embrace our covenant, mission, values, regardless of partisanship or lack thereof. We are a welcoming congregation to all people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, races, ethnicities, and abilities. We unconditionally welcome you as your full, authentic self to our community of care, spiritual growth, and personal growth. Our congregational mission is to strengthen our connections to one another and our planet by enlivening minds and spirits, building community through liberating love, and advocating fiercely for justice. It is a custom in this congregation to acknowledge visitors and newcomers. If this is your first time here, would you mind raising your hand so we can acknowledge you? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All are invited to join us for coffee after the service. New and newish folks are invited to grab a green mug located just inside the door of the fellowship hall so we can easily spot you and speak to you during our coffee hour. You're also welcome to fill out one of the gold cards in front of you so you can stay informed regarding all of our activities. Simply just drop the card in our offering basket or in the box at the hello table in the foyer. For a list of what's going on today after the service, please check out the list on the back of your printed order of service. There you also find a QR code that links to our recent e-news editions. Please know that whatever your religious history, whatever your spirituality, all people of goodwill are welcome here. Your presence makes us better. Your presence makes us whole. This morning, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of welcoming the Reverend Dr. Sofia Betancourt to Goof. The Reverend Dr. Sofia Betancourt, or Sofia, as she'd like to be known, is the 10th president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. She was elected in June of 2023. She has prior experience with the role of president. In early 2017, she was appointed interim co-president to finish out a vacated term, making her the first woman to lead the Unitarian Universalist Association. As president of the association, she is responsible for administering staff and programs that serve its more than 1,000 member congregations. In her capacity as president, she acts as principal spokesperson and minister at large for the UUA. Reverend Dr. Sofia Betancourt's 20-year ministry has included serving as parish minister, seminary professor, scholar, an environmental ethicist, and a public theologian. Reverend Dr. Betancourt also already helped the Unitarian Universalism live further to its commitment by being radically welcoming, counter-oppressive, a pluralistic faith movement. Prior to her presidency, she has committed many years of service as the director of the UUA's Office of Racial and Ethnic Concerns and on many denominational leadership bodies. Reverend Dr. Betancourt has contributed to the education of future faith leaders at Yale Divinity School, Starr King School for the Ministry, and Drew University Theological School, teaching courses on topics such as ministerial leadership, theologies, Womanism and Earth Justice, and Combating Oppression. Reverend Dr. Betancourt is the author of Eco-Womanism at the Panama Canal, Black Women, Labor, and Environmental Ethics, year 2022. On behalf of myself, the Board of Trustees, the entire Goof congregation, and the Greenville community, Sofia, I welcome you here today. Our service will now begin.
Oh, that sounds like a lot, right? My goodness. I am the Reverend Dr. Sofia Betancourt. It is my privilege, truly, to serve as president of your Unitarian Universalist Association. And one of my favorite things to do when I travel, especially when I come to congregations that are doing such important, central, strong, loving ministry, is to just get up and say thank you. Thank you. I get to bring you greetings today from the 1,000 congregations across our association. Right, this is the network of Unitarian Universalists that bring our faith to life. Now, your UUA, this is our central national body, exists so that congregations are not left to navigate today's challenges alone. Right, there are things that you do beautifully on your own, and in times when we are, for example, in the midst of an illegal and immoral war, it matters that we are connected to one another. So through your UUA, our congregations get access to support during leadership transitions, during moments of crisis. We offer training and formation for ministers and lay leaders. We support you, I hope we support you, with worship, educational, and theological resources that help us together share meaningful, grounded spiritual life. Together we work on large-scale justice-making opportunities and a connection to the wider movement. We also serve as your collective voice, the voice of Unitarian Universalism in the broader world, connecting our congregations and our communities to the needs of society and beyond. So, in vibrant congregations like this one, we try to serve communities all across the country and serve as your national association so that you can flourish as voices and representatives of our faith in times like these more than ever. The thing I most want to celebrate you for this morning, and I think you already know, right, is that Goof is one of the 50 most generous honor congregations across our associations. You not only answer our call to support the work of the UUA that supports your work in the world, but you do that more than almost any other congregation in the entire UUA. We cannot serve our mission, lift our values, resource our congregations, and train our leaders without communities like yours. I could not be more grateful. You keep thanking me for coming. I want to tell you I jumped at the chance to be here with you, right? To bring you greetings, to represent the association, to celebrate, I know I'm a year late, but to celebrate your 75th anniversary with you, and to thank you for your leadership, for the gift of your minister and your congregational leaders as they are to this region, to the UUA as a whole, and for your consistent, dedicated generosity. Thank you for all that you do.
Good morning, Goof. I'm the Reverend Chris Hockman. So honored to serve as your settled minister here in Greenville, and especially on this historic occasion for our congregation. I'm also going to serve as your worship associate this morning. Our chalice lighting today is in honor of the spring equinox, and if you would like to celebrate it on the patio at 12:30, you are more than welcome. This chalice lighting is from Lori Stevens. Our flaming chalice holds both light and dark. Simply by being lit, it casts a shadow. The spring equinox reminds us of that balance. We need both brightness and shade, warmth and cold. Just as some seeds can only sprout after being frozen, may our hearts honor both the frost and the thaw.
Good morning. Oh, that sounded a little serious. The Prelude, it's a song that is being, or was sung in Minneapolis in the protest against ICE. It's from a composer. Her name is Heidi Ann Wilson, and she writes, "It is January 2026, and the people of Minneapolis are inspiring us with what it looks like to really take care of one another in the face of escalating ICE raids and authoritarian violence. There are walking kids to school. They are walking kids to school, delivering food to neighbors, standing on street corners in rapid response. And they are singing. The composer says, I am humble and moved that this song is useful to folks right now. So we're gonna try to sing it with your help, if you may. It's a very simple tune, but it is very moving. The choir is gonna sing it a couple times, and then I'm gonna ask you to join us. I don't see the lyrics on the screen. Very easy ones. Hold on, hold on. My dear ones, here comes the dawn.
That sounded beautiful, by the way. Y'all can sing. I know you think you can't. I know it's a big room to fill, but it was gorgeous. Our call to worship this morning is from the Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto. Some people are used to keeping rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red, only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules isn't the same as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping a bright line, to keep our promises. To what have we promised ourselves? To this moment in time and place? To this community and even tenderly interconnected, this planet? We promise ourselves the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shedding the willingness to journey alone, as though you are made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together, we will chase away the sickness, the secrets, and leave only the open possibility that the future is a space for growth. Please rise in body and spirit and let us sing.
Good morning. I'm David Funderburk. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at GOOF. And I have a couple announcements before our not quite story today. Our next Friendly UU dinner is this Wednesday. If you'd like to join us, please look for one of the food, F-U-U-D, flyers that are in the hallway and RSVP so we know how many people are coming. And I also wanted to let you know that for anyone who was not at our service last week, part of our service last week, the youth invited everyone to contribute to a collective painting. And if you weren't here and you would like to contribute to that painting, we'll have it in the fellowship hall during coffee hour so people can continue to add to it if you missed last week. So with that, I want to welcome any children or youth or anyone of any age to come forward and join us today. We don't quite have a story, but we'll have a little Q&A with Reverend Dr. Sofia. Hello. This is welcome. There it goes. It launched there for a moment. Come up and join us. So we, at our last food night, and in some of our RE classes, we collected some questions for you. And I'm hoping that Do you want me to read it for you? Do you have any children?
I do not have any children.
Oh.
I love deeply and care for my partner's child, but I do not have any children of my own. She might have feelings about how I just answered that, but yes.
Would anyone like to read one?
What is your favorite song?
This one is so hard. I feel like I have a new favorite song every day. Do any of you have just one favorite song? No, it's incredibly hard. This morning, so now I've just been hearing Hold On, which brought my heart back to being in Minneapolis, so I would want to say Hold On. This morning, I woke up singing, of all things, Total Praise, because it was the last song we sang at a gathering just before I got here.
We're having shyness.
Shyness
I'm
is
trying to
okay.
get the person who wrote this one to rate it.
How old are you? You look like you're 29, apparently.
Did you say I look like I'm 29? I am 50 years old. I will be 51 in May. Yeah. This is the thing. So I was the first woman president, which made me the youngest ever president of the UUA, although Susan Frederick Ray and I were born in the same year. But I am definitely, even at 50, very young to be in my job. Isn't that strange? I would like our next president to be closer to 29. I'm not kidding. Think about the different perspective about how we show up in the world. It's a great question.
I'm going to read this question because it's a little longer, but it's a great one. When you were growing up in an immigrant household, did you ever have to translate for your parents?
Believe it or not, I did not have to translate for my parents. My mother's from Panama, so her first language is Spanish, and my father's from Chile. His first language is Spanish, but they both went to college in the United States, so my parents spoke English and Spanish fluently. What more happens for me as a daughter of immigrants is that I have both languages in my mind, even though I speak English much better than I speak Spanish, because I went to school in English. But sometimes when I can't remember a word, it comes out in the other language.
I think we have some help over here.
Do you have any favorite games?
I have so many favorite games. My current favorite game is called Telestrations. Do you know Telestrations? Yes. Telestrations is like if you took, what is the name of the game where you're drawing pictures on the, thank you. It's like Pictionary and Telephone got together and made a new game. It's super fun, and just the silliness that erupts, the amount of laughter is why I like Telestrations so much.
Why did you choose to work within the UUA?
Why did I choose to work within the UUA? To be honest, a little bit because I'm stubborn. This is not the first time I'm working in the UUA. I used to serve as the director for racial and ethnic concerns. And, you know, ministers, we have voice all across the UU movement. We get to show up, at meetings, but to talk about really important things, and it's also true of our colleagues in religious education and music and other folks who serve our congregations well. But the truth is that there are decisions that get made at the national level that we can't do congregation by congregation. And some of the things that I cared most about, welcome and justice and inclusion, were being worked on at the UUA, which is why I first brought my work to the UUA. Yeah.
You want to get our next one?
I can't believe the last one. Arrested. Have you ever been arrested?
I have been arrested. When I tell you, no, here's the thing. I'm going to be real that UUs get arrested often for justice work, right? And for some of us, it's more dangerous to be arrested than for others of us, for a whole bunch of reasons. The color of our skin, who we love, where we live, what we sound like. People who live in bodies and identities like mine often try not to get arrested, right? I am considered to have greater risk if I get arrested than some other people do. I was arrested for the first time in my life 2 months ago because I was part of a group of 80 ministers who took over the rotunda of the Senate to protest funding for ICE.
Do you like cats?
I love cats. I have a cat named Jasper. She's a tortie, so she's black and orange all swirled together. And have you heard the word tortitude? Which means that torties have a little bit more attitude and sass? No? Well, I'm here to tell you it is true. Jasper has strong opinions about things, and I love her so much.
Specifically, someone wanted to know, do you like this cat?
Yes! Who drew this cat? Did any of you draw these? Well, 2 cats.
It's a mystery.
Okay,
Oh.
you can't see this, but these are fabulous cats. One of them is standing up, rolling its eyes, it looks like Jasper would, and the other is a kitty loaf. you ever seen a cat do a kitty loaf? You know, they pull their legs under and they just look like a loaf of bread. These are perfect cats. Thank you.
How can we spread the UU message without being called culty or scaring away those with religious trauma?
This is such a good question. How do we spread the message of Unitarian Universalism? This is really like, how are we living our values in the world and admitting to people that we are UUs, that we have a religious tradition and that it matters? Can I ask a question? It's really for the whole room. How many of you, when you first found a UU community, felt like you had been Unitarian Universalist for a long time already? You just didn't know it existed. Can I encourage you to turn around and look? You were, baby. No, I know. For all of you, you are born UUs, which is also a beautiful thing. Here's the thing. I take people's religious trauma really seriously, right? It matters that we aren't just in community, but we heal here. We get to be who we really are and express what we really believe here. Sometimes, though, bad experiences some of us have had in other religious traditions make us not want to talk about this one. There is a big difference between saying that you're a UU and what that means to you and trying to tell someone else that they have to be a UU. We don't do that. We don't tell people that they have to be Unitarian Universalist, but we do tell people there are groups of people who would welcome you. Do you want to come to church with me? Or even, here is who I am in the world, and it matters to me what I believe, and I honor what you believe. There are ways to be proud of Unitarian Universalism without trying to control anyone else. And I have taken this really seriously because the next person who says to me, I wish I had known 20 years ago. Like, can we be hospitable in our tradition, but not pushy? Does that make sense? Yeah. It really matters, especially in times like these.
Well, I think we have one more question. Would anyone like to read the last question? We have one person who hasn't read one yet, so.
What is your favorite color?
This is a perfect question. Do you mind holding up your unicorn? Because my favorite color is purple. It's purple. Thank you all for being in conversation with me. It really matters to me that you know that I'm your president too. So thanks for coming up and for talking. It's good to meet you all. Say that again? President Day, yes, that's right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yes. And middle and high schoolers can stay in the service, but kindergarten through 5th grade folks, if you'd like to come with me and go to your classes, you can follow me out.
Unitarian Universalism is the vision of a world filled with peace, justice, love, and joy. That vision is embodied in its congregations. Each one depends on its congregants through their commitment of time, energy, and resources to make that vision real. Individually and collectively, we are Unitarian Universalists, building a world filled with peace, justice, love, and joy. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. It is our custom in this fellowship to share the joys and sorrows that shape our lives, honoring each one with the lighting of a candle. We all have moments of celebration and struggle. By sharing these experiences with one another, we can support and uplift each other on our journeys. Our first joy is from Gabriel Kraft. So very grateful for the work the youth, staff, and volunteers have done to unify the youth and elders in last Sunday's youth-led worship. And, yeah, they deserve applause again. This is a joy from Karen Conrad. Morgan's Hope now has a women's house, which is already full, in capital letters, with 2 more coming on Thursday. This makes this the 7th residence for people in recovery in our program. One more anonymous joy. Congratulations to one of our Goof youth, now young adults, who just got his general surgery residency match. Way to go, Nick. And this is a thank you joy from the Buildings and Grounds Committee for the beautiful people who came to the workday last weekend to make sure our home is a place to be proud of. Lori Morton, David Frick, Stephen Chapp, Victor Gallia, Beverly Jackson, Letitia Short, and Bloom. Join us on the 2nd Saturday of each month. It's cool how they snuck that in, isn't it? All right. And we will light a final candle representing all the joys and sorrows present in our hearts that remain unspoken. We will now observe a brief moment of silence before the meditation words begin.
This affirmation arose in Minneapolis, January 2026. Blessed are the immigrants, for they shall call home into being. Blessed are the observers, for they shall bear witness to truth.
Blessed are the song leaders, for they shall raise voices in hope. Blessed are the educators, for they shall shield children with care.
Blessed are the students, for they shall be beacons of courage. Blessed are the artists, for they shall capture the beauty of our power and grief.
Blessed are the faith leaders, for they shall proclaim our morality. Blessed are the marshals, for they shall protect our path towards freedom.
Blessed are the independent journalists, for they shall shine light on reality. Blessed are the fundraisers, for they shall make miracles manifest.
Blessed are the grocery shoppers, for they shall nourish our resistance. Blessed are the street medics, for they shall tend to our holy flesh.
Blessed are the body workers, for they shall bring grounding and balance. Blessed are the organizers, for they shall channel despair into action.
Blessed are the block captains, for they shall weave neighbors into networks. Blessed are the movement veterans, for they shall share the wisdom of history.
Blessed are the newly awakened, for they shall be welcomed with joy. Blessed are all who hunger and thirst for liberation, for we shall inherit the future.
Tens of thousands bore witness in the streets, unbowed by temperatures that were a disrespectful 20 degrees below zero before the wind chill. Policymakers, grocery shoppers, those who daily walk groups of children to school, mutual aid donors, shelter providers, ICE observers, and more, all holding strong together, all centering their neighbors in an outpouring of love that had gone on for months and still continues, no matter what the news is telling you. Resolute, hopeful, adamant that the attacks of federal agents against the everyday people of this nation will never happen in secrecy nor in silence. A living sanctuary of love that must be seen to be understood. I think many of you likely know that tomorrow makes 2 months since interfaith organizers in the Twin Cities put out a national call for clergy to show up, bear witness, learn about the methods they were using in Minnesota to keep each other safe. We came by the hundreds, and I hear later by the thousands even, to join in the spiritual care and prophetic witness against the resurgence of some of the most heinous crimes in our nation. What was incredible to me on this journey was the amount of care offered to those of us who came. All of the leaders who spent time with us were taking time away from the community care work that is so vital right now. They paused what they were doing to teach us their strategies, to share agonizingly real information on what the day-to-day experience had been like. One of them came an hour late because she was delivering breast milk to a home where ICE had removed a new mother and left an infant unattended behind. We were blessed with an entire day of training, resources, witness, and more, and most of us returned home with a new whistle in our hands and determined spirits. Why did they do this, as exhausted as I know they were and still are? I think because they want every other community to benefit from what they've learned. They want us to be ready, to be strategic, to already be organized and deeply connected to one another when ICE comes or returns to our communities. I live in the DMV. ICE is with us, has left us, is coming back soon. Right, beloveds, a feeling of marching in sub-zero conditions. I really mean this. I was on the back of a truck with a megaphone for a while. Most people don't know this. It wasn't captured anywhere. And the staff member who was with me for security told me later that there were icicles hanging from my eyelashes. It was sub-zero conditions. And there were more than 50,000 people of conscience determined to be in the streets, to speak their truth. It is actually indescribable. Feeling the presence and determination of so many turned what for me had been these tiny flickers into a beacon of hope that felt unstoppable. Sadly, we know what tyranny and authoritarianism do when people rest, when they resist, when they reclaim their hopefulness. Right? Many of us were already traveling home when we heard of yet another killing of an ICE observer the next day. It was that weekend with Alex Preddy. But it was the 9th such tragedy in 2026 alone. We know 2 names, right? We know Renee Good, we know Alex Preddy. The other 7 are all people of color, whose names we do not repeat. What do we hold on to in the face of that kind of evil? How does the refuge that we are offered call us onward? How are we courageous together, and what might we do to ensure that the refuge offered includes everyone? If we fast forward 2 months to today, we know that the Department of Homeland Security is spending billions of dollars on industrial warehouses across the nation to build a holding capacity of 92,000 immigrants at any given time in inhumane conditions for forced deportation. I've not seen any proposed yet for South Carolina, but there is already an existing warehouse in Graham, North Carolina, and many across the state of Georgia, including headquarters for these detention centers. As the Reverend Ashley Horan tells us in her modern recasting of the Beatitudes that we heard so beautifully this morning, thank you both. Blessed are all who hunger and thirst for liberation, for we shall inherit the future. These modern Beatitudes remind me that many of us are looking to be guided by the teachings of love in our daily living, even as tired as we are. Do you ask yourself how love might guide your decisions in these days? I do. We're showing up open-hearted for our neighbors, protecting each other's children, and offering our resources and our time to help one another face the unimaginable. When the events that surround us seem too difficult to bear, I think we look for something larger than ourselves that we can lean on in our need. And for us as UUs, that something larger is often found right here in our UU congregations, in communities that hold us close and shelter and uplift us in these days. Right, we come together and we trust that there is a healing that can come through our connections to each other. We know ourselves called to do all that we can to ensure that none are lost in these days. Instead, we might say to one another, my courage is your courage, when the journey is only getting longer. My strength is your strength. We will carry each other on the way. I'm going to come back to what it means to me, anyway, to be lost in these days in a moment. I want to remind us that the original Beatitudes come from an excerpt of the Sermon on the Mount attributed to Jesus in the book of Matthew. Right? They're considered to not only be a set of teachings for his disciples, some basic values that they held together, right, but a vision for the kind of future we might inherit if we live by the values that we hold together in common cause. So these newly expressed Beatitudes come from the Reverend Ashley Horan. She is the Vice President for Programs and Ministries, bless you, of your Unitarian Universalist Association. They come from the heart. They come from her exhaustion after weeks of organizing in her own neighborhood in Minneapolis and witnessing the lives lost or forever ruptured in her community. Her community Beatitudes, as she has titled them, are a prayer for what might yet be and serve as a reminder of how powerful we are when we work together. For me, they're also this constant reminder, right? A call to justice, that without our dedicated and loving communities and congregations, the impact of the forces of love in this world would be greatly diminished. Beloveds, we are the mechanism, the hands and feet, if you will, of a love larger than we can fully understand. I've seen this truth echoed back to me over and over again in these last few months. It is a truth that I've long known about our living tradition, yet witnessing it in real time lately has changed me. It changes who I think I'm meeting when I go into a UU community, and I loved us a whole lot already. You know, we don't talk about this much publicly because it's not about us. We were in Minneapolis to witness and to learn. But I'm carrying in my heart that literally a third of the clergy who answered that first national call were UUs. I think it would have been more, but they had to shut down registration. That's how many ministers wanted to come and be supportive. As one of our conveners for a direct action in DC the following week, that's when I got arrested, he proclaimed during our press conference, and I quote, UUs really showed out in Minneapolis, a phrase that I'm very proud of. The sanctuary that we met in for training, for singing and prayer, preparation, it was a kaleidoscope of faith traditions, cultural backgrounds, communities. But then later that night, we gathered at First Universalist Church of Minneapolis, just UUs, and we were everywhere. There were more than 200 of us holding on to one another, checking on the hearts and spirits of our beloveds ministering in occupied territory, strategizing on how to bring all they were teaching us back to the people we are privileged to serve. We came home carrying new protest songs in our spirits, like Hold On, I learned that weekend. We returned to our communities filled with stories of vigilant resistance and the reminder that it takes multiple years, scholars say a decade even, to topple empires. They told us that over and over again. Hold fast to the signs of hope. Be ready for the long haul. Right? They told us that we are the ones who keep each other on the path of a faithful no. I like to tell people that no is a complete sentence. No, not my neighbors. No, not the corruption of my values. No, not the children. No, not the erasure of democracy. Just no, not in our names. This is not a UU story. It's not. It's a Twin Cities story, a Minnesota story. It's a Los Angeles story, a Chicago story, a New Orleans story, a Dilley, Texas story, where leaders from one of our own state action networks, the Texas UU Justice Ministry, joined with partners demanding the release of all being held in custody at that detention center, which is already up and running. They were singing together and protecting one another, trying to sing loud enough to be heard by detained families so that those families would know they were not forgotten and not alone. Our beloveds in Minnesota have been doing similar work, and just yesterday won their injunction for faith leaders to be able to enter the Whipple building and talk to people being detained. It matters to remind one another that we are not alone, that we are not forgotten, that we are fighting for each other. Right? I know you know that this struggle is particularly vital in red states, right, where our progressive voices seem fewer. They're less common, and they are so powerfully needed to model another way. I'm so grateful for the shared ministry you hold together here in Greenville, where it is no small thing to bear witness to our UU values in the world, to remind our beloveds inside the congregation and beyond that they're not alone, to hold one another in love and mutual care when that journey gets longer. This is how we're showing up in community these days, how we are ministering to one another, how we're loving our neighbors. This is what it means to reach beyond the walls of our individual communities and bring the power of our faith as a whole into the streets. We literally cannot do this work without you. Everything that you do in this vital, growing, loving congregation holds the community in impossible times and lends the strength required to show up and meet the wide-ranging needs of this moment. And I have every faith in your ability to keep doing just that. Let me pause and say that this does not mean you have to be a superhero every single day. It feels like it, doesn't it? That's what the news cycle wants us to believe, that we need to work ourselves to exhaustion, and if we wake up too tired, then it's time to give up and we have failed. That is one of the biggest lies. When you wake up too tired, you trust that the person sitting next to you in the pew is having a better day than you are today, and that when they are too tired, when they wake up, that maybe you're having a better day. There are over 1,000 UU congregations, and the clarity of who we need to be in this moment has never been stronger. Show up when you have the energy. Live your values in all the small ways that change lives. Do not believe you have to somehow be Bishop Buddy talking directly to Donald Trump to make a difference. Be who you are in your values. Stay strengthened in this community. It may take us a decade. We will change this world. I know what I'm about to say is something presidents are supposed to say. Right? I'm supposed to come to you and tell you these words, but honestly, I don't know how to fully express to you how proud of UUs I am right now. I get to travel around. It's tiring sometimes, but everywhere I go, I witness this sea of side with love yellow everywhere that there is hurt or harm or struggle. Every time I show up unexpectedly to a protest or an organizing meeting, there are UUs everywhere. Being arrested wasn't part of my sermon this morning, but when I got there, they sang us Hold On, those 80 of us out of the many hundred that were on the red team, right, ready to be arrested. I had a brand new seminarian on one side, a Unitarian Universalist, colleagues on the other, I knew I would never be alone in that space. But that place of UUs everywhere, even to 8 hours in holding, we show up for and with each other. We show up for our communities. I have never believed more in the truth that we are simply the people who show up. We show up in our congregations and we show up in the streets. We show up in small town meetings. We show up where someone is hurting so that we might amplify the power of love to drive hatred and injustice out of the world. Right? And it is a privilege beyond naming to work together and to be part of the foundation for me of what helps that connection as we work for change across our UU movement. So I want to remind you that your UUA, and it's yours, truly, we are a community of covenant, right? Without the commitments between congregations, your UUA would not exist, right? And we focus on 3 things. They're actually pretty simple: equipping our congregations for health and vitality, training our lay leaders and our religious professionals, and lifting our UU values in the world. That's it. It is an expression, I hope and pray, of who you most want us to be in the world. Right? And so we talk about our shared ministry, what your UUA does with all of our congregations and communities and people who share our values as a freely chosen covenant. That's the part I should have said earlier when we sound like we're at risk of being a cult. A freely chosen agreement between us that holds our communities and congregations together. Right? And we are also this primary way that as UUs we fulfill the promises we make to each other, right? Promises that are larger than any one community can hold. So how might we together live into our freely chosen covenant and invest in a future and a faith where love is held at the very center? Our Unitarian Universalist tradition teaches me that there is always a pathway back into community. Have you heard this teaching? That there is no distance from our commonly shared values that is so far as to block a return to wholeness, even when we do need to hold boundaries in our communities for safety. Right? We do both of these things. UUs teach that none can ever be fully erased from the human family. We teach that there is always a way. That does not mean there is no accountability. It just means that there is always, always a pathway back, even if that journey is solely the work of one individual and their honest accountability to whatever calls them into being. This for me means 2 very important things. The first is that even as divided a nation as we are today, there is always hope that we can find our way back together into a people who seek to build a democratic nation rather than destroy each other for power and control. That is not easy, it is not swift, but I believe it is possible. Possibility matters. The second thing is that each of us can find our right place in this movement and in this moment, right? And that we can lean on one another to sustain ourselves in responding to all that threatens our neighbors, our loved ones, or our communities. Our congregations matter so much in these days. Again, I believe beyond what we can actually know today. I think we're going to look back and really realize the full depth of that meaning. They matter because they become the vessels for all that we know about love, that very love that keeps us going. The shared values that we hold together as UUs offer us 2 primary teachings on love. These live in the space, I think, right here, in this sanctuary, between the pulpit and all of the chairs, this togetherness that we create when we gather. Our shared values proclaim that the Unitarian Universalist Association, your UUA, will actively engage its members in transforming the world through liberating love. They also insist that love is the power that holds us together and is the center of our shared values. We are accountable to each other for doing the work of living those values through the spiritual discipline of love. What on earth does that look like, Sofia? What we do in covenant in our congregations and communities, I believe, changes us and changes the paths that we are on. What we do in service to our liberal and liberating tradition changes the world. I brought my ministry to the UUA because I believe fiercely in our congregations, and I want to do everything in my power to resource and equip the life-saving shared ministries that we take on together. I find part of what it means today in the words of one of our graduating UU seminarians, Karishma Gottfried, which some of you might have met at GA last year. She wrote a beautiful invocation of the depth of love that I believe characterizes our living as UUs. She writes, "Each of us was created in the image of love. Wherever we come from, wherever we're going, whoever we are, whomever we love, we proclaim with love on our side. Our bodies are sacred, our minds are blessed, our spirits are beloved. May we be open to receive more love, always more love." Always more love, beloveds. This is my prayer for you and for us, that we will know ourselves whole, no matter the circumstances of our living, and through that knowing, that we will love fiercely and consistently enough to set everyone free. Our faith may not promise this in our lifetimes, it doesn't, but also it promises nothing less. It promises that we will never be alone on this journey, and it is my privilege to be on that journey with all of you. This is the future that I long for and I pray we will inherit together. May there always be more love. May ours be the spirits that call that love into being, and may each of us find our place in the movement for liberation. May that love shelter our neighbors and protect their families. My thanks and my gratitude for every drop of that love that you put into this world. Thank you, beloveds. Amen. Ashe. And blessed be. I want to invite you to please rise in body or in spirit. We are singing hymn number 1024 in your teal hymnal, When the Spirit Says Do.
Spirit says do.
surprise percussion on that one. Please join me in reading the words for the extinguishing of our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And may you always know that the flames you kindle in this sanctuary, in your spirits, and carry out into the community, join the greater flame of Unitarian Universalism that holds us, nurtures us, seeks to sustain us, and keeps us on our way on this journey. Thank you, beloveds, for all that you do. May you carry this spirit as you go. Amen.